Have you ever watched a tantrum start off small and then suddenly explode, no matter what you say or did? Good day. All right. Thank y'all for coming back to the channel. We're going to get right into it today. We're not going to waste any time. And I know you are here to find out the 3 things that turn tantrums into explosions. So think about this real quick. Have you ever watched a tantrum start off small and then suddenly explode, no matter what you say or did? You're trying, you're reasoning, you're trying consequences, you're staying calm, you think you're doing everything right, and all of a sudden, they explode. This happens because of a very few reasons and adult responses. So I'm going to give you those adult responses. So let's go ahead and get started with the biggest one. Number 1, talking too much. If you tend to over-explain yourself, or you want to over-rationalize, or you want to reason, it's totally understandable. We are verbal beings. It's typical and it's natural for us to just tell somebody something that we want or ask somebody for something that we want. But when somebody is really upset, already going through a tantrum, one of the first things that shuts down is their ability to process auditory information. That is any coming through the auditory channels, hearing. So what happens then? You start talking and giving more commands. You start getting upset and the brain just overloads. Too many commands, there's too much of a cognitive demand and they go into cognitive overload. And this just scrambles the brain. Think about it. Have you ever seen a robot when it's being programmed and all of a sudden it gets too many messages and the brain starts getting scrambled, it just starts going crazy? This is the same thing that happens with people, and especially with children who have not learned how to control themselves yet. So that's the reason why it causes the tantrum to get even worse. But what should you do instead? You want to start to give clear directions and you want to lessen the language. So instead, didn't I tell you we had to go? I had to be there at 5:30 and now we're about to be late. That's all understandable, but it's not going to help the tantrum to de-escalate. What you should say is, I need you to put on your shoes and then we need to leave. Of course, they're going to continue to cry and throw a tantrum. If you have to take a second to go walk away and come back, go ahead and do that. Because what do they need? They need time, and they also need silence to process what you just said. If you keep coming back to back, that's too much. They can't deal with it. So you give them a nice clear one, boom. First, you eat your greens, then you can get some peach cobbler. Maybe not happy about it, but guess what? They're going to think about it. It's going to replay in their auditory loop, and before you know it, taste a little greens, eat one, and now they're asking you for some peach cobbler. So I can think about a perfect example, and I'm going to call this student Eminem. Now, Eminem was probably about 12, 13 years old, female, and she was nice and sizable, which means she was healthy. She wasn't a twig, she wasn't skinny. If she got upset, she began to rock her body, and she could cause a little bit of damage. She also had some developmental delays, and she could become extremely aggressive, so you had to watch yourself. But the particular person that was working with her at the time had a very bad habit of wanting to explain to Eminem what she needed to do. Now, this is on top of the fact that she already has neurodivergent abilities. So she was not typically developing in that area. So it wasn't like the commands could be met with other verbal responses from her. She would typically make sounds. She did have some signs, but she didn't have a whole lot of a big verbal repertoire. So Eminem would have a little bit of a fit because something wasn't going her way. And the person that was working with her at the time would start to say, Eminem, didn't you know that the bell is about to ring? We have to go. And if we are tardy to the next period, we are going to get in trouble. Number one, Eminem doesn't care about any tardies or anything like that. That is not what motivates her on a day-to-day basis. And then what would happen? Emma would begin to rock back and forth. And before you know it, start screaming and running around the entire campus until you had to go run and catch her. So what did we do? We had to put in the behavior plan to keep a calm voice and use direct language and don't use too much language. As a matter of fact, use 2 to 3 words. Emma, first ball, then outside. Eminem, first the jump rope, then we can go play. Eminem, first we're going to go and do our writing, and then we're going to go to science class. And that significantly helped to reduce the amount of outbursts that she was having simply by using that calm language. So that's number one. Don't talk too much, because you could have a big problem on your hands and you could make it even worse. So let's go ahead and go to number two. Number two is not sticking to the script. You just go into a whole different plan. You have to stick to the script. If you have a plan and you say beforehand, this is what we're going to do, you must stick to it, because this is why. Once you start to ebb and flow and to give in a little bit, then more negotiations start to happen, more tantrums, because their expectations are changing from time to time, so they don't know what to expect from one moment to the next. When it may be hard in the beginning to set that hard boundary, but it's going to be much easier in the end. Once that boundary is met once or twice, the problems that you get, the crying, the throwing themselves on the floor, the attempting to break things, the attempting to become aggressive, significantly drop. So you stick into your scripts. If you say, for example, the plan is that you are going to have to finish your morning routine before you get to have access to the iPad, you have to stick to that. Because this is what happened to my friend Alexander. Alexander was probably about 5 years old. And I was called into a kindergarten class because he always had a meltdown at a specific time of day. And of course, that was right around recess, but it's not for the reasons that you think. So right before recess came, the students were allowed to go and get on devices. And this is probably back in 10 or 15 years ago. This is when it was brand new to have. Even I had computers in my classroom. I'm not dating myself, but I had some computers in my classroom. But now they had the pads, they had video games, and they were able to do things a lot better than we were as far as in the video game arena is concerned. So anyway, I'm wondering, well, if it's recess, why is he having a meltdown right before recess? So I came to observe, and what did I see? I see as soon as recess is about to start, right before that is when the children get their free time. What did he choose to do? Chooses to go ahead and play with the technology. So when it was time to go to recess, he did not want to get up. He had no intentions on getting up because he was already engaging in his preferred activity. So what were the people who were working with him doing? They would say, oh, Alexander, it's time to go outside. And if he wouldn't come, of course, they would pull him. That would start a tantrum. That would start a meltdown. Of course, he's kicking and throwing himself on the floor. He's little at this time, but it's still disruptive. And he's throwing himself on the floor and he's rolling around. So what do? Okay, even though the plan is that you must go outside first and then you can access your pad again, I'll just let you go ahead and stay in this time. But tomorrow, you gotta promise me we'll go outside without a problem. Oh my goodness. That is the perfect way to create a monster. To continue to push the consequence or push the boundary way out so that it doesn't seem like it's coming up. But guess what? It always does. And once it does, what happens? Boom. If you didn't stick to it, you're adding to a problem. So what should you do? You have to stay consistent, plan ahead. You know it's coming. Try not to be reactive. If you're reactive, it's already too late. If you had a plan, you say, I'm going to stick to it. Guess what? Whatever happens, tomorrow you can redo a plan and then implement it when the problem comes up again. But you don't want to try to fly by the seat of your pants. That's a quick way to get you in trouble. Last one real quick because I don't want to keep y'all too long. But the last one we have to talk about is matching big energy with big energy. If you've seen any of our other videos, you know that what can happen is that emotional math problem we always talk about. If one person goes to one level and then another person goes to a level higher, we're only adding to the problem. So one person at a 6, one person at a 7, guess what? Now we at a 13. But if somebody comes in at a 7 and then you come in at a 4, you're subtracting from the entire explosion. That's where you want to be. So I'm going to give you one story about, let's call him Ricky. Ricky was probably about 14 years old. Could be aggressive sometimes, but for the most part, he was okay. One day, Ricky did put his hands on one of the students, and then one of the people that were working with him confronted Ricky and said, Ricky, don't you do that. Now, mind you, he has a plan that says when he does these things, you make sure that all the students are safe, get everybody away, and then you proceed to use calm language to de-escalate him until he can get back into the routine. Well, either this person didn't care about that plan or their emotions took over. This happens a lot of time with humans. You can't knock them for that. But you have to stay calm. And what happened? He took it up a notch and confronted Ricky. But what happens in this situation is that the person who has less to lose will go to whatever lengths to get what they want. So when Ricky was confronted, he went back to a fight or flight response. And there was a physical altercation, and it was bad for everybody. So that's just one example of how meeting with bigger energy can cause chaotic energy. So what do you want to do in this situation? Here's some specific pointers. Take a deep breath. You have to activate that vagus nerve. In through the nose, out through the mouth. That already will change your outlook. Drop the shoulders. Most of the tension is being held right here in these deltoids. You need to make sure that they don't tense up and that you physically drop them. Let them droop. So that's something else you can do. And then lower your voice. When you start to lower your voice, you'll be surprised at how other people around you who, even if they were escalated, also start to lower their voice. It is absolutely amazing. Even if somebody's being disruptive in class or in the house and they're talking at a 10 and you start talking at a 5, watch how they at least come down to about a 7. It's like magic. So let's do a quick recap. The things that turn tantrums into explosions are talking too much, not sticking to the script, so doing something else or changing the script in the middle, and matching big with big energy. If you do any of those 3 things during a tantrum, you should expect an explosion coming real soon. So what should you do? You have to stick to the script. You have to stay calm and not match the energy. And you have to keep your language to a minimum. Clear. Doesn't have to be soft to where it's not audible. Clear, but not as many words. So do me a favor real quick. I know we've gone for quite a little bit on this particular video, but if you got any value from this, make sure you smash that button. You hit that notification bell so every time we drop something new, you are able to get this information. We also have the Behavior Bootcamp for Parents linked below. Grab your free behavior cheat sheet so that you can start spotting patterns in your child's behavior today. So that's all for today. We will have more in the future. Hopefully you come back. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. I want to give people value out there. Hopefully they value this information because it comes from years, over 21 years of experience successfully doing this right here. So hope you all have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.